Hi, I'm Vanessa Uybarreta, licensed massage therapist, intuitive, yoga and meditation teacher, and dancer. I want to talk about what myofascial release is. Myofascial release is founded by John Barnes. Now, I've been practicing since 2006, and I found that it's been a profound part of my spiritual journey and my healing journey, as well as the people who I work with. So, the first thing is to really take a moment to say and know that we are holistic people, humans, beings. Meaning, we are not just thoughts separated from other parts of us. We are not just our body. We are not just energy, and we are not just our emotions in the way that we mentally think about it. We are a holistic being, which means that we function as one. And yes, we can say everything is energy at the very smallest level. But we are not just a car with parts that break that we need to replace. And we also are not just thinking mind, okay? So when we come into work like this, we want to start to understand, which you do from receiving the work as well, if you're not already there, that we function holistically, so we unfold and kind of unravel and open up in a holistic way as well, okay? So, why myofascial release? So what I found is that this work is really powerful. And there's a few different aspects to myofascial release, but first I want to just share a little bit about what fascia is and why we're talking about fascia. So myo just means muscle, and fascia is considered a connective tissue. Now, the thing about saying the word connective tissue is we tend to think of connecting one thing to another, like an important thing to another important thing. And it's not really like that. Fascia is a three-dimensional web continuously inside our whole entire body, top to bottom, left to right, front to back. No interruption. Our muscles are made of fascia, but the fascia is all throughout the body, even beyond where we consider our muscles starting and stopping, okay? So, naturally, fascia protects, supports, and cushions all the structures inside. Fascia is actually a fractal type of web that is dynamic and shifts and creates microtubules of liquid fluid to adapt to our normal functioning. And those microtubules are also energy pathways. And these are things that science are already discovering, and that this aspects of the fascial system is being discovered and has been discovered for a long time, but not as many people might know about it, okay? So we are supposed to be fluid, dynamic beings on the inside, very powerful consciousness pathways. But what happens is when we go through trauma and injuries and stress patterns and tightness and emotional distress and clenching and grasping, is the fascial system goes from being fluid and movable to being more dehydrated, tighter, stuck, glued down. So all the things we describe, like I'm tight, I'm knotted up, I feel like I have a band in my back, a tight rubber band, all those words really describe what I would call is restrictions in the body, okay? So what happens is, now we have a restriction, okay? We have a restriction in an area. Let's say I have a restriction right here on the top, front part of my shoulder into my chest. Now every time I move, it's not moving with me. So now it's pulling through the whole entire web. So now what? Now I might feel pain all the way out into my hand, through my arm, down my body. And this is where it's so incredibly interesting, because there's not one person that is like another person inside with their restrictions. And we can see this. Not one person has ever walked exactly the same footsteps as another person. This is why we have to treat each person so individually. Yes, we have diagnoses, we have labels, we have things, and that's all very important. But when it comes down to the restrictions that are causing you your pain, your dysfunction, your inability to do the things you want to do, it's really important to see you as a complete, unique individual. Because what needs to be treated and how the myofascial release therapist looks at a person is seeing where you're tight, where's your fascia restricted, and then treating that. Because like I just said in this example, if I'm tight here and my restriction is here, and now it's pulling through my whole arm and I'm having pain in my hand, doesn't mean there isn't restrictions that are here, but this might have been more of a secondary restriction to the original pull that started here. So I can work on your hand and 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 work on your hand, but if I don't address this, it's going to keep coming back. And that's the important thing to understand. So, something else which is interesting, so that you might be thinking, well, what about muscles starting and stopping where they start? It's really important to understand when it comes to physical movements, which is what we're doing as we function, right? Exercise, you know, as a yoga instructor and a dancer, I know certain muscles do certain things, okay? As a human, we know certain muscles do certain things. We're contracting when we're doing exercise or using weights. We're isolating muscles even more sometimes. And that's important to understand, right? The contraction process of the body. When it comes to tightness, restrictions, it's not specific like that, meaning it starts to get glued down here. It glues down usually all the way down through all the tissue in here, and then it pulls through the whole web. Just like if you were to think or visualize a spider web, which is more flat. So the fascia is not flat, just like one layer. It's all through, front to back, top to bottom, side to side. If you were to think about a spider web and just pull on a corner, the whole web would come with it. So when it comes to restrictions that are causing pain and dysfunction, we need to look globally. Okay, so that's the difference. That's the difference of it. It's not that we shouldn't think about muscles at all when it comes to us as humans and functioning overall, but we need to understand that there's a lot of times your feet, okay, are the end, the bottom. You have to look upward into the body to see what else is tight. Why are you walking differently? Why is one foot striking the ground in a different way than the other and causing pain through? Okay? It seems so obvious, but somehow we're missing this, okay? So we're retreating the cause of the pain so that you can feel better, long-term, quicker. The amazing part of myofascial release is that it really is ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science. So it is logic, it is the combination of the education on the human body and functional patterns, as well as intuition. So it's a combination of logic and magic, is what I like to say. So when I work with somebody, I'm using my intuition very much. I've developed it over many years. And so I'm feeling, sensing, as well as looking at yourself, at your body in a physical way, as well as an intuitive way to see where you're tight. There's 3 parts to the myofascial release, founded by John Barnes, okay? There's the hands-on work, the structural work, all the different areas that we treat and the different ways that we treat it, the specific technique, which is really beautiful. We're actually, what I found to be really interesting about this work, after experiencing many other types of body work, is that we're really touching with really conscious, aware touch. And we're not trying to make anything happen. We're not forcing anything to happen. We're not trying to fight something, okay? We're not trying to push and resist and beat down, the battle against this thing and the battle against that. We're actually meeting a person, their body, their feelings, right where they're at, okay? Being really conscious and present and using the technique, consciously pressing into the person's body, never forcing. These are primary foundations of this work. Never forcing, never leading. Letting the body start to release on its own. It takes the fascia a minute and a half to 2 minutes just of constant sustained pressure just to begin to release, okay? Just to begin to release. Just like one of my metaphors I use is like a pot of boiling water. You put a pot on the stove, you put the heat on, Nothing seems to be happening for the first couple minutes, or maybe longer, depending on your stove. But then all of a sudden the water really starts to boil. But we know something was happening. The temperature was rising slowly, gradually. It's similar, same metaphor to fascia. Might not seem like the stuff is happening with that first minute and a half to 2 minutes, even though you might feel sensations. But then it starts to release, so we need to hold it longer. So the holds are much longer than some other forms of body work. So the touch is conscious, it's never forcing. The pressure is specific to your body, to the area of your body and what your body needs. It is not a, cookie cutter, this type of pressure, this amount of pressure here or there. You're really meeting the body and the person where they're at, okay? Every session is different. It's not going to be the same every time. And that's what I found so profound about it. I found this to be very beautiful because for me, it's the ultimate understanding of what holding space means. Holding space is this idea of giving this energetic, metaphorical, and physical space for a person to really dive into themselves and see what's needed to come out in that moment. There's also rebounding, and rebounding is a rocking motion that is done to the person that I'm working with, as well as there's a way to do it on your own, which is really fun. It's called jiggling, and it's awesome. And that is a gentle rocking motion that helps to allow your body fluid motion, okay? Fluid motion. And so it's helping with that sense of gripping, holding on, clenching that a lot of people tend to walk around with and might not really know. Okay, so that's a powerful piece as well. And then the other part is unwinding. And unwinding is purely intuitive, body-led movement. This is something that is not forced. It's not like we're going to unwind now. When you know how to do it, you can do it on your own whenever you want, and it becomes something you can just say, I want to unwind, and it's going to happen. But when you're working with somebody, when I'm working with somebody, it's something that will just naturally come out. Just like when the fascia releases and sometimes when the hands move and the fascia underneath, you'll feel different sensations and shifts in your body. Sometimes your body, if you let your body surrender to your body taking the lead, being in the driver's seat and kind of letting your mind sit back a bit, you actually can allow yourself to go into really deep healing places. So it can look like all sorts of things. It can be very large movement, physical movement. It can be very subtle things. It could be emotional releases. It can be memories and senses and knowings and all sorts of things that are just what you need in that moment to let go of, to get to the place where you're wanting to be in that moment. So it's just letting go of the limitation that is just showing up for you right there. And this helps on a physical, emotional, spiritual level. So myofascial release is a really profound body work that I've found to be an integral part of my own journey and the journey of other people that I work with. It has kind of infused the way I do so many other things. The way I teach, the things I talk about, the yoga that I teach, and of course, understanding my body very intimately as a dancer. So if this is something that interests you, feel free to reach out to me. We can certainly work together. And I would really look forward to connecting with you and speaking with you further. I hope that you got a lot out of this. Good luck on your journey.